Welcome back to Dubai. I am Poonam Verma, TV journalist and host, and we are now doing our second panel from Dubai for Female Factor. Now, this panel is all about failure. Now, we've all failed. It's not such a bad thing. It's a scary word, but it's not that frightening. It's called failing forward. Now, overcoming the fear of failure and standing up once you failed is one of the biggest reasons a lot of women are not getting back into the game. So we're going to talk about this. And joining me today is Barbara Baumgartner, who's the managing director at FII Rent-A-Jet, and Meher Mirchandani, who's director at Manri Logistics Fund. So let's start off with you, Barbara. Now, we've all regretted things. Let's forget the personal stuff that we've regretted. Let's talk about the professional stuff. What have you regretted that, and something that you regretted that you didn't do because of the fear of failure, and you're like, I'm going to fail at that, I'm not going to do it?
Honestly, for me, it's a bit different because the fear of failure doesn't stop me.
Ah.
I am challenged by the challenger. I am challenged by people who say, you can't do it, or this is impossible to be done, or you don't have enough time or expertise or background. So that actually motivates me. But I have a fear that is actually regret. My biggest fear is that I have questions where I don't have the answers. What would have happened if, or, and also to have missed great opportunities. And now I'll tell you something very honestly. I'm a very private person and I work in silence. For me to be here with you today is actually to show you how I tackle my fear.
Oh,
because
nice.
I believe, I have a lot of experience and stories to share with you. And I'm sure that a lot of leaders out there or future leaders who are in the same position like me, and I just want to show them that we can all do it because we don't want to miss an amazing opportunity like this and regret it.
So you weren't fearful about coming here? Were you or nervous?
Yes.
So how did you overcome that?
As I just said, just try it.
You don't seem nervous when we're chatting. You're very, very calm. So you hide it well. What about you, Meher?
So, what I believe is a fear of failure is a belief. We are not born with it. So, as long as we are not born with something, we have the power to overcome it. And we all have to realize and be aware that it's just a belief created while we are growing up. It's probably embedded in our subconscious, but it doesn't belong to us. So, we are all powerful enough to work on ourselves and reverse that belief.
But it is all about working on yourself because, I mean, you're an author too. We had a conversation about many things you had to overcome and changing your belief. And fear is, it can start from when you're little. Oh, you shouldn't do that because that's dangerous. Those kind of things. Or you're getting too old to do that. You might hurt yourself. So it comes from a lot of upbringing, the culture, the parents, the friends that tell us things, even the media.
So as long as we are aware that it doesn't belong to us and we can overcome it, that's the key.
Yeah.
That's the start of when you can start resolving these beliefs.
Yeah.
Because we all have self-limiting beliefs that enable us to achieve success and become limitless.
So tell me something that you regretted that you didn't do because you were scared and you wish you had done it.
So I've actually taken a lot of risks in my life. And honestly, I have shared it authentically in my book, Come Alive, Don't Just Exist, that I have faced challenges from the age of 23. I fell in love, got married, and in our culture, marriage means taking care of the family, taking care of the household. But I was super ambitious. I still am super ambitious. I run 3 verticals in my company. I'm super ambitious. And for me, that was a challenge.
Yeah.
It was very difficult for me to understand now, what am I supposed to do? I was already married. I was so ambitious. I didn't even know how ambitious I was until I got married.
I think that runs in the Indian blood. I'm the same.
So, you don't know what is expected as a married woman from you until you get married.
Just as long as you make rotis that are round, you're fine as an Indian woman.
So that is your primary responsibility. And as long as you manage it. So what I learned from that is I was supposed to manage it well. So I started working 3 days a week and 4 days I would be at home. So I could do both together. So that really started my journey and my relationship with overcoming beliefs that were built from the culture I come.
So Barbara, tell me some of the biggest challenges in your career that you have faced so far.
I mean, running a private jet company with main focus on air ambulance, I can tell you I have challenges pretty much every day. And I would say it started when I took on the role of regional representative of FAI, being a new mother with a premature baby, not having aviation background, and starting from a home office. But the very biggest challenge I had in my career is, and I have to say at that time, FAI was not known, was a small company. Meanwhile, it's the largest company in air ambulance in the world, the largest private jet company of Germany. And meanwhile, even here in the Middle East, we brought it to the number one in the region. But the challenge was the biggest client, which was a GCC government entity, had changed the tender terms where they asked us to have our medical crew, which are doctors and nurses, locally licensed. Now, running an aviation company, our place is not a hospital or a clinic, it's a moving ICU equipped aircraft. And if a tender says you have to have locally licensed crew from the place where you bring a patient to pick them up, that's a huge challenge because you need to have a medical facility. Now, I discussed it with the owner, and the owner said, Barbara, forget about it. We are an airline. We are not opening a sector in the healthcare industry by being an operator of a hospital or clinic. There's nothing we can do, and unfortunately, we just cannot participate. But here it comes. I mean, I evaluated it and I said, no, we're not giving up. We're having a service that is very badly needed. I am sure none of the competitors have the setup that is currently required. And I truly believe you have generally only failed once you have given up. That's my general belief. Yes. So he left it with me, and actually within a time span of 8 weeks, got a medical license, medical facility license. I got a local air ambulance license, and I got a ground operation license, which was all required in order to have that setup done. And I just would like to mention my license got rejected twice, and I still wouldn't give up. And the third time, I was thinking, what does it take for the decision makers to change their mind? And I realized I have to captivate them with a story. And I looked up all the decision maker names, and I looked up the patients that I had flown. And then the miracle happened, as I call it, because one of the decision makers' father had actually fallen from a horse while playing polo, has broken his neck. And we were the one who flew him out. And thanks God, today he's fine and he's not paralyzed. And that story I could embed. And that was then my third time lucky success. That was definitely my biggest challenge that I ever had because it meant so much for the company.
So you just kept going. You didn't give
Not
up.
giving up.
Yeah.
Perseverance, I think, is the most important part.
What about you, Meher? What are some of the big?
I'm inspired, actually. I'm really inspired by Barbara. So the biggest challenge for me, again, I don't view what Barbara rightly said, that failure is part of success.
Yeah.
We cannot look it as an opposite to success. So failure is the very, I think, essence of success. And it's not once, but we will fail many, many, many times.
Yeah.
And what I look failure is as a learning. Every time I fail, I write down that what has this setback taught me. And as soon as I understand the learning, everything is so worth it. But that's when you come out stronger, much stronger than what you had started. And that's the whole process. That's the journey.
Yeah, I know. I think my biggest failure is when you're young, you don't understand it. And I remember failing my A levels at 18. Not failing them, I did really bad. And I remember going, "That's it. I'm never going to get anywhere." And then my parents said, "You're going to do them again." I was like, "What? You're going to do them all over again?" I did so well. That confidence and power went. It's okay if I fail. I just do better next time. That was my first experience of how now when I fail, I'm like, it's not a big deal, and that's how I think it is experience,
Absolutely.
And I'm glad I learned that from that lesson. But let me ask you a question. When you do fail, give me some experiences or personal experiences when you've had to get back on track. You had to pick yourself up and go.
Yeah, that happens many times, of course. I'm a big risk taker. And for me, it is just being very well prepared and trying to have calculated risks. But working very systematically, I'll break down a task in many, many different segments. And then the most important question, analyze where does your fear come from? is it a lack of confidence? Is it a lack of competence? You don't have enough experience. You don't have the know-how. Or is it just that you need certain connections to lift you up? Do you have mentors, advisors? Do you need somebody from that peer industry group who can help you? And I think to identify the source of your fear is extremely important. And then, if I may give an advice from a lived experience, it's extremely important to tackle the part which you fear most first. Don't put it last on your list of what should be done, because the fear is the one that could block your energy, your motivation, and keep you going. And I believe if you address it first, that's extremely important. And in order to round off that journey and control the fear, for me, I work out the best case and the worst case scenarios. Is the worst case scenario really so disastrous? Or is it just another lost opportunity? And I think it's important to also look at the best case scenario, because you need to keep yourself motivated, right? And always have a good future perspective. And I think last but not least, I like to have a contingency plan. Plan B and C have to be there. And that will help me to just control my fear and move forward.
Yeah. What about you? Give me any time when you've had to pick yourself up.
So I am a coach as well, and I do believe mentors and coaches really help you along the way. Being on the board of entrepreneurs organization, I have learned that we should ask for help when we need it. We must reach out to people who can lift us up as friends, who can guide us as mentors, who can also coach us through a difficult situation. Because there are times we don't see a perspective, and when we don't see a perspective, we might have the um, we all have blind spots. We might not see a perspective if we are really struggling with something. But in the end, again, challenges and failures are part of the learning process, and they really teach us. And I love what Barbara said also, which is also part of my way to tackle any kind of setback is what is the worst that could happen?
Yeah, and when you break that
Answer
down,
when you answer that, it is like magic again.
that's a great little
Because
process to use. I've had that. They take it in bits. And what's the worst? And you're like, oh,
exactly. So it's all about the learning. It's never about the failure.
yeah.
That's something we must all just come aware of.
So I want to tell everybody, please send us your questions for Barbara and Meher, because I am going to be asking them directly. So I have one or two here that I'm going to ask. So first of all, a question from Olina to Barbara. Whose inspirational stories have motivated you to take risks and make mistakes?
My motivation to take risks is actually that in my leadership position, I can take a choice. And I have a choice to go in this direction or that direction. And my inspiration is actually the stories of my patients. Because, and if I might just share a quick one that really touched my heart quite recently, it was a young Emirati lady that, which I call the happiest patient I ever had. She had just jumped from the second floor of her private villa from the bathroom and had escaped many days and actually even weeks of physical abuse by her mentally ill husband, deprived from food. And at the moment she jumped, she only weighed 38 kilos. And her decision to jump was she just wanted this ordeal to finish, and she wanted to see her young kids again. And she did not have a choice, as I call it, right? And here we picked her up and flew her for treatment abroad. And she was the happiest person because she came out alive. Her husband was in jail, and she could hug and kiss her children. Yes, she's now paralyzed. But for me, when I have fear or when I am not happy about the situation, I think back, what strengths this lady must have and what strategy she endured. And I'm very grateful. For me, I get inspiration by being grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm healthy. I'm happily married. My family is fine. I have a job. And you just learn that the worries that we have and the fear are nothing compared to what other people have to go through. And that actually keeps me motivated.
And I think you stay very grounded because of the industry you work in and the patients you see with the air ambulance and everyday stories. You just think, I'm grateful that I have my health today, you know?
Exactly.
And Meher, what about you? Tell me some inspirational stories which has pushed you to take more risks in your life.
So I'm inspired by Dubai. I love, and UAE, of course, where we live.
Yeah.
It's just so awesome. Um, every time I drive down Sheikh Zayed, I mean, I've seen it built. I've been here for 35 years. There was nothing when I used to drive down to school or drive down to my dad's office in Jabal Ali.
Forget that. I go past 3 weeks later, I'm like, where has this building come from?
It is so inspirational. And I remember a time and an instance with my brother when he met his Highness Sheikh Mohammed, and he asked him that everybody in the media asks me why the greatest, why the tallest, why the biggest. So do you know what I said? So my brother actually replied and said, "You said why not?" I feel that saying of his always plays in my mind, saying that why not? I want to be an author. Why not? What is the worst again that can happen? I mean, we are limitless, and what we have to do is actually prioritize ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that we know who we are, which is the essence of my book. That as long as we know and we are committed and connected to who we are, our journey. Understand that we love ourselves for who we are. We are here to grow. The universe has our back.
Yeah. You know, we were talking, me and Barbara actually earlier, that where we both came from, even though we love, she comes from Austria. And what is it you said? People don't see over the high mountains, they don't see past what there is in their community. And it's interesting you said that you love Dubai and it inspires you because being a journalist in England, it was a very narrow box. I couldn't produce or direct. Coming here, I go produce, go direct, go, and it gave me the freedom to become in a mini entrepreneur in many ways. So I do feel I agree with you on that in so many ways. I think we're very fortunate to
We
be
are
here.
very fortunate. We are grateful, like Barbara said rightly. When we learn to honor ourselves, honor everything around us, be grateful for all that we have, we actually elevate our energy to the level that we need to co create with the Creator. So, that awareness is something we all must.
And I can only add to you. I mean, I've lived here now for 24 years.
Wow.
Do I feel homesick? Yes, I love Austria. But for me, the environment, the infrastructure that we have here, being so multicultural, but I also feel so accepted and respected as a woman. Some
Absolutely.
people might think, oh my God, you're in the Middle East, you're in an Arabic country, and it must be so difficult. But no, it's here you are respected for what you do and your experience.
I agree.
And this is so motivational. Besides, of course, as you say, we have a lot of assistance, right? We can have some house help and we can, as
Absolutely.
mothers and wives, we have a lot of quality time.
I think the vision that they have 2040, the best city to live in and the best country to live in, I think it's going to be, I think it's now, anyways. So we are grateful that we are. So when you live in such an inspiring surrounding, it's only your awareness that can make you more, when it can give you more aspirational ideas to aspire and be what you want to be, what you're meant to be.
Yeah. Now I have a question from Matilda to you, Meher. Do you experience that being a businesswoman at a young age make other people judge or see your failures differently? Do you get judged because maybe you were very successful at a younger age?
So again, I think it's all about prioritizing yourself, connecting to yourself. It doesn't matter how other people view you or judge you. What matters is how you are viewing yourself, how you are judging yourself. So it all boils down to, does it really matter what other people think? I mean, I haven't really felt anything until when I am vulnerable. If I am vulnerable, then of course the whole world is, after you kind of. But as long as you are strong, as long as you are connected to yourself, then all these feelings are just feelings.
Well, one of my favorite sayings is by Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he says, "What anybody thinks about me is none of my business." I love this saying, and when I
Agree.
embody it, I'm like, it's not that I don't care, but I am who I am. You know?
I think it's if I may add to it, it's
Yeah.
very different where we are now in life. If I think back over 20 years ago, I was head of a family office of a Saudi business conglomerate. So imagine I'm in my 20s and I have this position and I got judged a lot. And for me, how I build up, I mean, of course, I had to be faster. I think I worked really the hardest and I had to prove myself much more. But at the same time, it was a challenge that I said I'll take on because we women work as hard as men are, and just because we are young doesn't mean that we are not good in numbers or we are not good in finance, which many of them believe, right? And we just have to put our stand
Yes, I
and get it
agree.
done.
And also, something that Baba reminded me was that we have to train and perform. So when I launched Meher and Ridima, my fashion brand, I was 23. I did it just before I got married, and I launched it actually from university. As soon as I came here, I was designing all of summer. I didn't take a day's break. I wanted to be what I wanted to be in life. And but what I didn't do is work on myself and train for it. So if
So you're
you
focusing more on the materialistic, the success, the career, rather than
rather than
listening
the
to your.
internal inner self, and that's what I feel is missing maybe in the school system. What I do with my children is I prepare them and train them for all this. I tell them that disappointment is part of life, but as long as you don't disappoint yourself, you're fine. So a lot of those things have a lot to do with how you internalize life. I feel if I had the awareness at 2022, then I would not be feeling that way. Of course, we have felt that way when we were there, but the awareness was not there.
But sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Barbara.
I can only add to it because I think that's a very important point that I discuss with my two boys very often, and meanwhile they know it works. Is you have to have the right mindset. You are more fearful if you are weak, and for me, getting your inner strength, it's so important that you sleep well. It's so important that you eat well, and that you have time for yourself to do your sports or your meditation or yoga, whatever it is. But I
Practice
think
self
if
love.
you are strong with your inner self, you are just more powerful to be successful.
Absolutely. You gain authentic power from within.
Yeah.
And we will only realize it when we do it.
But I think also sometimes if you think about looking back as women, and even today, we are the nurturing to look out for everybody else, your family, your partner, your kids. And they say they've changed, they've used the new line, being selfish, it's not being selfish, it's taking care of oneself. So it's self care, not selfish, And we're afraid of being selfish sometimes because you're a mom, you're a wife, you're a daughter. So that's mindset has to change. And Matilda's actually said to both of you, how do you train your mindset away from fear in your professional life and also change your mindset according to what we're talking about right now? Do you have methods that you use? You said meditation. Is there anything that you use every day, little rituals that you can start the day with?
So I'm a big believer of rituals. I believe you must start an hour earlier than your children, your husband, whoever at home you have. You must start an hour earlier and focus on yourself. Prioritize yourself. What I do is meditation, journaling, exercise. I read and learn because that also gives you power. And journaling always makes you reflect, keeps you connected to yourself. And meditation, of course, if our kids are taught meditation in school, they will be powerful human beings and with no fear.
Yeah, my nephew has started learning mindful walking and meditation in schools. We never had that when we were younger, and I think it's great. They're slowly incorporating this in. What about you? What do you do?
I can only agree and add to it, Meher. I think the breathing techniques are so important, even for if you have exam anxiety or important steps in your life to prepare yourself. And yeah, I'm very similar. I also start very early ahead of my family, and yoga meditation is very important. But there are a lot of things. I mean, for me, it's also the music and nature and meeting with people, because I think the more overwhelmed work might be for you or stressed or the more fear you have, the more some people forget about the social life and the aspect. I mean, family is very important, but sometimes really important to meet or speak with your friends. Even nowadays, unfortunately, it's only via a Zoom or any other sources. But this connection, you should never stop it, even if you are too tired or too exhausted, because that keeps you going, and it's extremely important.
Yeah, you are 5% of who you hang out with. So you must have the right energy,
Yeah.
friends and family around you to keep lifting you up. And that is so, so important, what Barbara also mentioned
Yeah,
right
no, I totally agree. Energy is everything, everything that you surround yourself with. So Bella wants to know from both of you, what was the greatest advice you've ever received? It's a big one.
If I can start, yeah, the absolute biggest advice is choose the people who you surround yourself very well. Be with people who are positive minded, who can lift you up, people who let you dream, think big, and get big things done. Because I believe with small minds, you cannot succeed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this is the utmost best advice, and that helps me
For
keep on
me,
going.
it's train to be great, dare to be great,
Let's be great.
train to be that, train your mind, body, soul to be who you are meant to be a limitless human, because we all are. All we have to do is be aware of it. As long as you train, as long as you're in love and connected to yourself, and as long as you dream, like you said, dream big, I think success, happiness, joy is yours to have.
We're talking about failure and what happens being a working mom. Have you ever gone through that point where you thought, I'm failing as a mom because I'm working so much, I'm not giving time? Barbara's nodding.
Oh,
How
yeah.
do you overcome that sense of failure? Or is it not failure? You don't perceive it as failure?
I mean, generally, I don't call anything in my life a failure.
I agree.
And I had to, I always say, reprogram my brain, because for me, it's experience. Is yes, I have done the wrong choices, but yeah, nothing is a failure. But my kids, for me, what is very important, yes, we felt guilty so many times, but I believe the quality time is what counts. I know we working mothers, we feel we don't give enough time to our children, to our families, but it is not sitting with them watching TV that makes a difference. It's sitting with them and doing something actively. Discuss a topic that is close to them. Have a game like playing chess with my children, or singing with them while we are driving in the car, and just doing things
Being
actively
connected to
together,
them.
and not let everybody just sit like it's nowadays. You come home and everybody's on their devices and you have nothing to talk anymore. And I think if you spend every day a certain amount of time connecting with them,
Absolutely.
then you feel great.
Absolutely. I feel the same. You have to be connected to them. You have to make sure that you are so connected that they can feel it. You have to look into their eyes and speak to them. You have to explain and reflect things with them. I'll share an incident that one of the days I had a really, really tough day at work. And I came back and I was not being judgmental, but I feel my children took it as I was judgmental because I said, "Oh, you still haven't done this? Oh, you still didn't do this?" So they felt that. And then I still went ahead and prepared something beautiful for them for dinner. And one of my daughters came up and said that, "Mama, please don't mind, but um, I didn't like the dinner you made today." So obviously it broke my heart a little bit. And then I said, okay, no problem. I mean, I'm happy not to make dinner because I'm also very tired from work. And I just said that, and uh, I realized that why would I say that? I mean, it's okay for her to be open and honest to me and say that I didn't like dinner because whatever it was. And in the morning, what I did is I actually apologized to her. I told her that, Vihana, can you forgive me for saying that? Because I don't think that was the right thing for me to say. What I should have said, I'll try better to be better next time. So, by realizing our mistakes and being authentic with them, displaying and expressing ourselves, our vulnerabilities, they actually get it. And that's conscious parenting.
Yeah.
As long as you are a conscious parent, I do believe you can have it all and you will keep getting better and better at managing both together.
Conscious parents has to be connected with themselves first before
First,
they.
exactly. And
I,
that's what I say in my book.
I have changed the rules a bit in my house, because I believe, as you say, I'm working the whole day. Yes, they have to study and to teach, but for us, it's not who is cooking dinner. What are we cooking tonight?
I like that.
What are we doing together? And mommy is also off on the weekend, and we support each other. And this is good because, again, we connect more, we are more actively together. But I want to show them that,
We are all
same
in this
as you are
together.
tired,
Yes.
we are tired, and
Love
it's just
it.
more fun to do things together.
Love it. Yes, yes. Yeah, it's all about the teamwork, right? Like we do it in the office, is the same at home. We have to build that cultivate that culture of teamwork in our children as well. I love it. I love what you said. I mean, my kids are still small, so I don't really ask them to do that. But yes, I will do that as soon as they get maybe a year or two older.
So I have another question from Sarah to both of you. What was the lowest point in your career, and who or what got you out of it, or got you out of that situation or that mindset?
So the lowest point in my career when I decided to hold off Meher and Radima, to stop it actually after 15 years of a lot of work, going back and forth to
Which is
New
your
York,
fashion label.
which is my fashion label, and I loved it. I thought that was the purpose of my existence.
Yeah.
I really thought that was the purpose of my existence, but I couldn't do it. The kids were small, and I had to travel. My dream was to be a fashion designer, supplying and stocking alongside Donna Karen and everybody at Bergdorf Goodman. That was my dream, and if anything less, I didn't want to take it. So I actually stopped it a few years ago. That's when I felt devastated internally. Internally, I was so devastated that I've made this decision to stop it. But I thought my life was over.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what am I going to do? How is it going to be? But when I kept doing those exercises, that what is the worst that could happen, and what is the learning from it? And it was just a few months ago that my father had asked me to join the family business. So I was kind of transitioning, and then I stopped Meher and Ridhima. But today I thought I think it is the biggest blessing for me that I stopped Meher and Ridhima and I got on the family business as a second generation entrepreneur. And I actually started the fund, Man Ray Logistics Fund, with my brother, which is registered in DIFC under DFSA. And I'm loving it. I'm loving the journey of being with my father, with my brother, with building a team, building a company, of setting the vision, coaching my team members. I have 25 team members I coach and who report to me, inspiring them to be who I want to be. So it's like all of us growing together. It's the best thing I've done in life.
So I have a question for Barbara from Nadine. How do we naturally humble females to become more confident, take more pride for achievements, and overcome underselling yourself? That's quite a big thing in women. There's a big thing about ego, being boasting too much, but still being powerful and confident. How do you find that balance?
Now, being an investor in a fund called Mindshift Capital, we only invest in with a gender lens, which means tech startups with a female founder or co-founder. And what I really like by doing that, and coming back to your question, is it also allows me to advise, mentor, or even be on advisory boards of companies, of startups, usually young women, and show them the experience that we have and guide them. And I think, as we said earlier, even for the fear of failure, it just repeats. What do they lack? How can we support them? Mentorship is extremely important because also I learned it doesn't really matter if you are in IT or in the medtech or in the educational field. Certain things of leadership and confidence building and how to look at your work are pretty much the same formula in all different fields. And for me, it's just giving back to female leaders by, supporting them on all different parts is what I really like, but also to make introductions to people who can support them. And it's very motivational. And also, I may add, if I don't feel so well and I can help somebody, I immediately feel so much better and again get energy to keep on going.
Contribution.
And I think we're all the same. It's very, very rewarding. And
Absolutely.
And what is one of the biggest learning experiences you've had? We have an anonymous question from someone here.
The biggest learning
Learning experience.
for me, it is everything happens for a reason, and it is for your growth and evolution. So it is when we see everything that happens in our life for our growth and evolution, it's magic, literally magic, because nothing happens without a reason. The biggest challenge is actually become your greatest blessings.
You know, it's interesting because sometimes you're talking about there's no such thing as failure. I keep talking about sayings today. I don't know why, but there was a saying that says rejection is God's redirection. And I love that because there's so, like, I really wanted to be a pop star many years ago. And I ended up becoming a journalist and a TV presenter. and I'm so much better and confident doing this than ever being on stage singing. And I look back then thinking I was being redirected better. So I think of failure like that. There is no such thing as failure. It's just another path that you need to take, really.
We get to know ourselves much better when we are pushed out of our
Comfort
zone.
zone.
If we achieve something, even if we fail at something, this is, I think, very important.
So what are, let's say, top tips or advice you'd give to the next generation of female leaders when it comes to overcoming failure, both of you?
My biggest one is you have to be connected to yourself, love yourself, know yourself. Once you connect to your inner self, you are training. You are training to be able to withstand and overcome anything, be it a fear of failure, fear of rejection, anxiety, stress. Actually, all these things are low energy feelings,
Vibrations.
So they will not come to you once you are connected to yourself, because when you connect to yourself and when you are on the seat of your soul, you actually get authentic power.
When you're saying connect to yourself, you're saying listen to your soul's voice, listen to your inner self rather than everything else. Be still for a while.
Yes, but you can only do that when you spend time with yourself, knowing yourself. So the spend time by meditation or mindfulness, silence, whatever it is that suits you. There are a lot of ways to connect with yourself. You must do that straight out of college. I mean, kids should do that, but we should not wait for that time to come that we must connect to ourselves. We must just that should be a part of life.
And I agree with you. I think, if I may add, it is just that you also reflect and hold yourself accountable. Yes, this didn't go the way I wanted it to go. If I speak for my company and I have certain teams who contributed to this failure, it's not me, then it's we, because I'm the leader and I'm the manager of the company, right? And I think it's very important to admit this didn't go the way how we wanted it. Let's reflect and learn and move on, because only when you do that, you also give confidence to other people to stand up, to be transparent, and to work it out as a team, and also give them the confidence they are not alone, because the boss says we and not I or you. And I think
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Our motto is for Palmon Group is achieving more together. It's all about together, teamwork, and it's also not to put yourself or somebody else in the victim mentality. You know, victim mentality is something that we always blame other people for our failures, other people for our mistakes. It is what Barbara said, accountability. It is taking accountability of your own life from day one, from the time you graduate. You are responsible for your life, nobody else. Your parents, your peers, your siblings, your teachers, nobody is responsible for your failure, your loss, your sadness, or anything. You are responsible. And this is the biggest lesson I learned in my life. And that's what I write in my book, Come Alive, Don't Just Exist, is that all my life I actually felt that people were supposed to make me happy. And I would be, I know we had this conversation, but I have to say it, right?
No, they're learning, they're listening.
Yeah, so love is a process that completes us when we love someone and they love us back as per our expectations. Imagine that line. This is the belief that we all have, that people, all our expectations will be met and then we will be happy. It doesn't work like that. Your life is your responsibility. Our life is our responsibility. What we must expect is from ourselves, not from anybody else. What we want in life is our accountability. We cannot say because I had this kind of a father, because I had this kind of a mother, or I had this kind of a circumstance, or this happened with me. We cannot blame the circumstances or the people in our life. Yeah, we must take charge of our life. This is the biggest learning in my life.
Fully agree, but there are two aspects. I mean, one, if you need help, it's also you who has to be open for it and ask for help.
Absolutely.
Because of a fear, because of anxiety, whatever it is. I think that's also extremely important.
Yes, I've actually taken help of past life like regression therapy just to understand myself better. I've used a lot of theta healing in my journey. I've used coaches, mentors, a lot of them. What you say, that's true. You must be understanding yourself and knowing yourself to understand that you need this help and take it.
As a leader or a manager of a company, I think we also have the skills to see in others, are they going through fear of failures or certain processes?
Yes, I'm gonna have to cut you off now because we're running out of time. I'm so sorry. But I just want to say thank you so much. Sorry for cutting you off. Sorry, Meher, as
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
So
Thank
it's
you.
goodbye for the Dubai stage. Please continue to enjoy the female factor around the world, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.